master works. Sorry. So like during my master works, I kind of explore the notion of design through making. So there's a lot of model making and also experimental with materials. And eventually my proposal going towards to art installation. So I suppose this would, as what I read correctly previously, the students are instructed to do art installation, like contextual basis, isn't it? So I think it might be helpful for me to share some of my works as well. So I'm thinking of presenting two projects of mine. So one is Tensegrity Wallflower, and secondly is called Lights in Gaza. So this is actually my second year project, but I think it might be helpful because it relates to art installation and also contextual studies. So yeah, I will share my screen now then. Okay, hold on. So let's start with Tensegrity. So we basically, it just like we were asked to select a system. So my system was Tensegrity. And from this, I have to kind of first study what Tensegrity means. And from there, once you understand the principle of it, you kind of experiment to what extent that you can go with the system. So I'm just going to proceed on first. Hold on, okay. So in my studio, it is mostly about design through making, but then not to forget about the literature as well. So I think that's the beauty of it, that you have to have like background research, but then you make it visible, because if it's not visible, then somehow it is kind of lost. So it's like exploring system by design through making, and also to understand the key principles of the system, and also to allow explorations upon understanding the principle. And from there, you will start to kind of create new discoveries. So this is like the processes that I laid out. First, you have to have the research. Second, you have to have the form exploration. Third, the experimentation through material and also scale, you test it out. And also for framing spaces, because it's kind of, once you kind of explore the model, you want to see how it's going to look like within the space. So I'll go on with tensegrity in principle first. Tensegrity is actually tensional integrity, meaning that it's kind of, you have a series of structure being built on a floating compression system. So it's kind of floating structure that is being tied together by these tensile forces. So I'll show you how it works. It's kind of interesting. This is coined by Buckminster Fuller back in 1960s. So this is what you can see is like three struts. The column right here is being standing on its own by only the forces of tensile members. So this is basically my research, and this is how it normally looks like. And see, you can have it like, and all these struts, what you can see over here, it is all not touching each other. So it's just like, oh, it's fascinating to have a look this system, and how do I move on towards it? Moving forward from this. So yeah, a close up, yeah, you can see it's just like floating. From there, I start to understand, trying to understand the principle of it, what I explained to you just now. And then, yeah, and then it just like, mostly it is most stable in triangular grids. So from there, I took on my research furthermore. Hold on. So, okay, so this is after I understand the whole concept of what tensegrity is. we start to go on to the next stage, which is form exploration. So you start to manipulate and also try to apply it. Because obviously, basically my tutor used to say that, what's the point of you doing something that somebody already done before? So you have to take whatever that you found and explore it and create something new. So that's the point, to create a new invention. So I think it's quite fascinating, and I have to like kind of enforce that this is something that every student have to have, which is taking it forward, not doing something that is already have. So from this is like I told you before, the principle, compression, also tension. I kind of remind that again, and then and you can manipulate it with the numbers of compression, also compression members, and also tension. So this is what I came up with, because my studio previously is all about digital exploration, and I find it quite easy, because you can test it out quite faster in a digital form. So you kind of save time. So after you kind of exploring digitally, you kind of know which model that you can try it out. You can generate a lot of iteration, and it can be like a part of your theory and also research study. And at the end, you can try it out whatever the time allows. Try it out as in model it physically. So what you can see here, the basic tensegrity model is consisted of 3 modules. And then this is how it looks like from the plan, and then this is how it looks like when it is all meshed up together. And this is on a planar surface, flat surface, and this is on irregular surface, how it's going to look like. So for this, I'm using Rhino and also Grasshopper. So it's just a matter of inserting inputs, the numbering, and from there you can generate the model quite instantaneously. So what you can see over here is just like I worked out the script and adjusting the number to get what I want, meaning that number 3, 3 struts, 4 struts, 5 struts, 6 struts, and this is 6 struts based on different arrangement. So you can see how one system can transform based on different inputs. So it's quite fascinating to see this. And this is more of the research. And then this is when I try to test it out, because you wouldn't know until you test it out. So this is basically what I try to do it within a very like this small. And then you can have a look, you can play around with it. And then, yeah, I made it, and it just like the feel is amazing because you made the model for the first time and it looks complicated, but then you learn through making it. And this is what you can see when it is all flattened out, but when you kind of release it, you kind of get these blocks. The reason why I have my tape on it, because if I don't tape it, it's going to be like a ball. But I want to shape it so I can like compress it. But when I take it off, it's going to make a ball. So it's flexible. It's something that you kind of discover after you make it. Because I didn't know that it can be flattened out. And then this is a discovery that I found out after I'm making it. Sorry, okay. So this is, I tried to combine a few modules together. This is, because what you can see is like kind of the struts coming together with the, it's kind of very structural. So I tried something with like the pantyhose, so to have it covered, and whether can it take shape is just another possibilities. So this is when the third stage coming in, which is what we call it, the experimental with the materials. Yeah, and then this is from my research as well, from the models that I've seen, they are all using these struts and also the strings, right? So I was thinking, well, strings has the same kind of properties as fabric. So can I do fabric instead? And then first I explore it digitally. So, okay, this is how it's going to look like. And then from there, I try to make a real model based on the fabric. So this is my first iteration. So it's kind of a little bit rough in the making, but then that's the point. First try is always rough, but then it took a few stages more for you to refine the model. So from this, I get the first look of my installation called Tensegrity Wallflower, because it resembles like a flower bud, and yeah, so that's where the name comes from. So yeah, this is what it goes to, which is materials and also scales. It's just this is like the goal. Design through making, physical experiments tested with digital tools for analysis, formal generation, and also fabrication. So I start to look into fabric tensegrity. And these are all examples that kind of influenced my research before I get to, and this is kind of influenced a lot in my installation making. So framing spaces. So this is what I come up with after. So from the initial model just now, it just, I start to look into fabric tensegrity and what's the possibility that I can do with it. So I can make it as framing spaces. So this is an installation proposal to a engineering consultants offices back in London. So it's kind of, I was shortlisted, but not to the stage where it is got built. So that's the reason why when I returned to Malaysia, I just wanted to do this, you know? So yeah, I just want to see the possibility of it, because the one that I made before is only like, what, 12 modules, like 12 flowers. I want to do the whole wall of it. So yeah, so this is what it is like an event in 2018, and I kind of built it and tested out in a scale of a wall. So the reason why there's a portal in the middle is because it's an event space. So I just thought that, oh, there might be people can come around and then, you know, just go through the wall. So yeah, and it occurs to me when I try, because right just now I was talking about materials and also scales. When I go big, as what you can see is like a wall kind of scale, there's different problem that you will encounter. So that's the point as well. It's every stages is every scale. Every scale you have problems, and from that problems, it's just always to provide solution to get where you are, to proceed to the next level. So it's just a matter of solving the problems to make sure that you can solve it and to make your design happen. So yeah, that's how it looks like from from down below looking up. And yeah, so just now there's this like the biggest scale that it can come up to in real life as far as I experimented it with. So well, a part of my design studio back then, we imagined how tensegrity would be like next 100 years. So I proposed some sort of a capsule of tensegrity where people can sleep in it. It's actually a speculation in the future that people can live inside tensegrity pod. So this is the proposal that I come up with. Well, This is generated through Grasshopper and also Rhino as well. So I haven't tested out in a full scale people can sleep in yet. Well, maybe hopefully that one day I will do that. And yeah, so that's what city is called. Doriath is a manifesto for a tensegrity capsule to kind of save the forest. So yeah, that's about it from tensegrity wallflower. So basically I put together my studio, how my studio looks like before. It's like full of models because it's just like, I want to see models every single week. What's your progress in a week? So it just like, at the end, it looks like a model heaven. So it's fascinating to see it that way. It just like, you kind of find interesting forms and also things coming out of your studio. So yeah, so there is tensegrity wallflower. So it's from design through making. I'm going to proceed to the next topic, which is my project as well. It's a kind of artwork / installation as well. It's called Light in Gaza. So Lights of Gaza. So a little bit of background. So during my second year, I involved with more on a contextual community architecture. So it's mostly very site specific. So our site is actually in Gaza, in Palestine. So basically every group it was a group work, we have to really understand what the place is. And then from there, we kind of need to understand the issues and how do we express the issue of that particular place in a form of artwork. So, so basically when in Gaza, through our research, my group specifically goes into how Gaza is not being supported much of electricity. So from this, every second 1/3 of Gaza is without electricity. That kind of trigger us more to find out what's happening there. So we start to find narratives. So because from narratives is from the people, and you start to understand what's the real issue with that particular space, because at the end you want to have like community awareness about this. So this is Gaza in the dark. So what you can see is like I think it's Palestinian Gulf, and what you can see is this is Tel Aviv. There's like most of the major cities in Israel, and what you can see, this is during the nighttime, that Gaza is basically, it's like completely dark. So what happened there, we want to find out, right? So it's this life in the darkness. What does it feel to live in Gaza? So this is the installation that we want to evoke when we want to create our artwork. So we start to find narratives that I said just now. So we trying to find, you know, the pictures that depicting like what's going on there, so that you can feel it. And then more narratives. So from there, we are looking like no electricity, is always in the darkness. So and then that question arises, which is, how do you experience darkness? So when we talk about darkness, it's always about like, what if you're blind? So your kind of senses is basically touch or hear, or mostly touch and hearing or smelling, because you kind of need to awaken your senses because your sight is completely shut off. So that's where our direction is going. We go to the direction of your senses. So this is like kind of precedent study that we're trying to look, shadow, texture, tactile. So this is where we kind of, the continuation of our narrative to precedent study, and then we experiment on our own, meaning that, you know, when your house in like blackout, you start to like, oh, take the torchlights, and then, you know, you explore the notion of darkness, we call it. So this is true. In the dark, we just play around with lights. From there, we explore more. This is through tactile experimentation. When you talk about tactile, there's a lot of series of tactile that you have to go through. So this is like a series of tactile experience that we, and also tactile models that we kind of experiment to kind of gauge what sort of artwork does this inform to the crowd. Does it? So it just like, okay, so from this that you kind of start to feel what's right, what's not. And then this is another one, is like, you know, in the dark and light, we're trying to play with light bulbs as well. And then we come to something like this, which is expressive models. So because, you know, it's just like when you're in the dark, you're feeling not safe. You're feeling like, it can be very dangerous. When you touch it, it can be really sharp. So from this kind of thoughts, we kind of translate it into tactile models, expressive models as such, as like this. So this is a miniature model. So this is basically, okay, we decided this is the one. So we kind of create like really massive one, like this. This is like actually big. It's like 2 meters times by 1.2 meters times by 1 meter, I think. Can't remember. Or is it 0.75 meter? So it's actually a model, it's a mapping of Palestinian, oh sorry, I think it's Arab Gulf, where you can see Tel Aviv, and also Gaza, and also Jerusalem, Bethlehem. And from this, actually the white portion that you can see down here is actually the sea. And this extreme part where we kind of exaggerated a little bit, that portion is Gaza, because that's the darkness is like kind of coming out really like starkingly. So the one that is really flattened out and you kind of feel a little bit soft is where Tel Aviv is, for example, because it's just like, it's completely brightened up during, from the map that I showed you earlier on. So it's like the inversion of the image that you've seen earlier on, and this image I'm showing to you right now. So yeah, so this is like kind of the textile experience and also models that we kind of experimented with. So this is how it looks like on our final group projects. It looks like this is the tactile models, and also this is the light box one. So when people come, people can relate. On the right hand side is actually the actual image of how it looks like during the night, the satellite view, and on the left is how our expression is like, and it kind of reflected side to side. So yeah, that's about it from me. I hope it's not too laju. So yeah.
Right. I think that's a good sharing, Esha. I think thank you
so
very much. Yeah, thank you for your time off your busy schedule to spend time with the students and
thank you.
the lecturers. Yeah, I'm really grateful that you can spend your time with us. Maybe before we waiting for the questions from the students, perhaps I would like to ask you some questions, if you don't mind.
No, I don't.
Right. So, so basically, well, it's kind of like we're trying to bring like a new approach where when it comes to the design studios, we're trying to get a like a site inspiration. Like you have to really understand about the site before whatever proposal that you wanted to choose in a way. And then you need to find out about the narrative of the site and what are the things that you need to look at. You know, like you said, you are being given in a group and you're looking at a certain kind of like portions or stories that, you know, like you wanted to focus on. And my question is like how you see, how do you decide on which narrative that you guys are picking up? and to looking at for the proposal, like, yeah.
Okay, like as what you can see, our group like looking into more on the losses of electricity and all. So basically, I think when we are doing the research, we find a lot of issues actually. But then it's just a matter of how much info that you can get from it as well. Meaning that research and how many that you can bring forward, like the possibilities of it to become an artwork. So it's just a matter of how much information that you can get. And yeah, I think that's sufficient, because I think any issues can have, any issues actually can be put forward on. Yeah, it can be very complicated when you don't really have much research on that particular thing. Yeah, I think so.
So during the pandemic nowadays, like
Yeah.
students are hardly to go to the site and to
Oh,
get a
yeah.
feel of the site. So I think that's quite a trouble for the students and also for the lecturers to, you know, like to get the ideas of the site itself, you know, like to really understand about the site. It's not like, you know, like short sneely of doing a proposal in that sense. So like when you do project in Gaza, like do you actually go there and experience the place, or like you are doing virtual, online research on that?
Yeah, actually it was online research actually.
Right.
Like during it's actually kind of when we were given the brief, half of us can actually go, but we can't really go to Gaza. We went to Jerusalem instead. This is kind of the introductory to the project. So most of our researchers are from online, and it's actually is quite remarkable amount of research back in the internet about this. So from that limited resources, and also experience, limited experience, because we are not able to go travel there, we come up with this, with the limited resources. So I suppose that you guys, your site is in Chowkit and also Kampung Atap, is it? Yeah. So I don't know, maybe there's a lot of perhaps there's a lot of activities, homeless, like there's a group of people that go to Chowkit and then like feed the homeless and all. So I don't know, maybe they can approach one group in Facebook that help them, and then maybe they can ask it out, because you can't really go there and interview them at this time around, isn't it? So yeah, that you have to look for the narratives by yourself. I think that's about it. But yeah.
Yeah, so and I think maybe you can share further in terms of like from the narrative that you choose or you study, and how you come up with the ideas of these kind of like concept forms or model, like, or the artwork that you get. Like for instance, you know, like this Gaza artwork where you study about like more like a mapping. And I think that's like a stage where the students are really struggle in, you know, like in link of the narrative, and also like what sort of like models or artwork that they supposed to produce, you know, in terms of like the form itself and the materials. I think maybe you can give some advice to the students on how they can play around with that. Yeah.
Sure. I think that's the kind of the tricky stage, where narration towards the model, what's the right ones. But then I think the portion that is very crucial is do a lot of models during that time, because there's like experimental models, and I think it's important for you to document them, meaning that you do the models, you document it, and you start to see what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's wrong, what can be implemented to the next stage, to the final model, because you can't have narrative and then final model directly. No, it's just like, you don't even experiment, how can you know? So it's just like, you have to try. And then okay, for example, just now I just go back because I was experimenting thing with darkness. So it just like when you start to think about darkness, for example, you start to macam, what are the notion of darkness? We talk about blindfolded. So perhaps you guys go in the street, and then, or if you can't go to the street, you inside in the house. Exactly. You just like, what do you use? You start to touch your wall. So that's another, you can experiment with touch model or tactile model. So that goes to this tactile experimentation that I have. So I have like 5 stages, and it's not even reflecting to my final model actually, but it kind of all inclusive in my final model. Because when I talk about darkness, when you're in darkness, you feel insecure, you feel scared, you just afraid that everything that you touch will be a sharp object. So that's the reason why I put like sharp metal stuff inside the model as well, try to invoke that feeling. So and also if in darkness you talk about braille, like you start to read it through braille, for example, like hidden messages, it's kind of something like that, you know. So but my point is, you have to like really do a lot of models beforehand, and these are all actually not necessarily the final model. The final model is actually this, but this is like kind of progressive models, and from there you kind of understand which one potential to bring forward to become the final model. But documenting your models is like kind of important. Like when you model it, you kind of jot down, why do I model this? And then when I don't know, when I presented to my lecturers was like, okay, you have justification what your models are. Not like you put the model and then there's no description. I don't know. You can do that, obviously. So yeah. It just, maybe sometimes you have some sort of poems about it, and then you have the poem kind of reflected on my model. For example, that's Cloud9. Yeah. So it just narration, music, poems, and how you translate it into models, experimental models first before going to final model. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, yeah. I think they should know where to stop, because when it comes to like when it comes to development model, like you keep trying, you know, like exploring with the different materials, with the different notions of ideas, and maybe like inspiration, like you said, with the poem, or maybe like literature, old literatures, you know, like all those maybe movies like inspired. I think the point here is like how you actually creating a story of it, like a narrative of your journey of the design itself. I think that what makes your design is much more interesting in a way. And I think the next question is like, maybe because I would like to know like the experience that you have back in UK and what you have in Malaysia. Like, what are the different in terms of like design philosophies and design approach that you have learned in both sides, in Malaysia and in UK? Perhaps you can share with the rest of the students. Yeah.
Sure. So in a way, one of it is actually I mean, my lecturer back then in Malaysia, they were like, okay, once you get this, something that's similar to, I mean, modeling into something that is already done before, that's good enough. Like, but then try to do something that is much beyond that. So that is what my tutor back in the UK kind of push us towards to. And then perhaps there is one. And then I think the documenting process, because the personal experience to me, I can't really say to everyone about this, but I think in Malaysia, I more focus on final product, not the processes. And when I went to the UK, it just like, everything is documented from the week one. So at the end, it just become your portfolio, and it's like thick and it's your research. You kind of look like, oh, you've done some research, man. For the fact that in Malaysia it's the same, but I am too focused on the final product. And then I think the principles are almost the same, but I think in the UK, just like you start to realize more on the influences that it's not only when we're talking about installation or architecture or interior, for example, it's not necessarily those specifically. No, it's an accumulation of stories. So I think it's important for the us like to understand, to treat it as a story, like we are delivering a story instead of products of architecture or installation, something like that. So yeah, I think that about it.
That's the narrative, right? The storyline of the concept. Okay, it has to be strong, and especially you have to record it. Okay, you have to record the journey. Okay, it's like a journal of diary.
Yes.
Right. I think it's the same over here as well. Okay, we are forcing the students to come up with weekly outcome. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing actually. That's good.
Okay. So Esha, I think I have one question to you.
Sure.
Okay. Actually, I'm quite interested in your second project here. Okay, which is the Gaza. Just how long that you actually the duration that you spent.
During this time, I think it was a month, if I'm not mistaken.
A month time means around 4 weeks?
4 weeks, yes.
Okay.
Yes, 4 weeks. Because this is introduction to the course, and also it's a group work.
Okay. It's like a minor project of the semester.
Minor project, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think, is there any question from the floor, I mean from the students? I think there's no one actually typing anything here in the group chat. They are being very quiet. I don't know whether they are there or not, or it's just us three of us.
Come on, guys.
Okay, any question?
You just let me know whether you understand, am I talking too fast, or you just let me know.
Okay, any question from the students?
I think one more thing, like looking at like how you explore the materials and the way how you the constructions of your installation. Perhaps you can share a bit on that, like how, where, and how you decide on the materials that that there is a potential of doing it.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose I go to Wallflower then.
Yeah.
During that time, hold on. I go to my initial model. Okay, for example from this, because actually the struts, meaning that the wood, actually it can be anything that is solid. So previously, after this model, I tried it with acrylic rod. So it's very transparent, but it'll do the job. So that one, the reason why I want to choose that one is because you will look like the petals floating because it's acrylic, right? Isn't it? Yeah, but it's like expensive, so that's the reason why I didn't put the whole wall of it. And then this, as what you can see during this generating the module, is quite a rough ending here. And then if you can see, it's actually like this portion also, there's 2 fabrics. The final model is actually only 1 fabric because this one is the first version. I thought that I need 2, but afterwards I tried with 1 fabric, it works. So the reason why I took fabric is because previously I was looking for the string, but then when fabric, it kind of encapsulate the form much more prettier for me. And then it kind of create enclosure if, for example, the model that you want to create as a wall needs something that is covering, right? So that's the reason why I choose fabric. So if a portion of the wall that you kind of want to open up it a little bit, I can use like actually the fishing wire. It'll do the job as well. But because that's the intention, visibility, I don't want to see coverings over there. So yeah, that's the reason of the selection of the materials actually. And then from there, the construction of it is just like, after, it's basically like I told you before, it's by stages, meaning that from modules, when you go trying to combine 3 or 4 combination together, you will face problem, meaning that how do actually I hook this up? And then you start to experiment a few times. And actually, if you don't mind, I want to share actually my progress of experimenting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I forgot actually. I will.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'll share more. Hold on. Let me just open it first. It's a beautiful flower. Locks. Wait a sec. Hold on, yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, so during back in 2018, this is kind of the first time I'm going to make it really big, like a lot of them. So like this is what you can see, the one that I use acrylic rod, and I kind of identify and also I analyze what works, what doesn't work. And so I did a few more cuts. And actually from the arrangement itself, I recently discovered as well that assembly, different assembly will create different flower. So from this I start to analyze, and then I start to finalize what I want, and then I try to hook it up from one module to another. And yeah, this is kind of the log that I created to record my experiment. And then this is the assembly. And then this is the portion that I analyze it. How does it going to look like? This is failed module because the module should be this way around. So it just, you wouldn't know until you create it. And then this is the assembly and all. So this is like kind of, I have trouble because I kind of trying to make the flower bloom and also shrunk. So I have trouble to connect it. So I tried with like this transparency sheet to kind of connect it together without being too obvious. Yeah, so this is kind of my experiment of
Mechanism of it.
Right? Mechanism of it, yeah. So like for example, if I want to make it smaller, the bloom, it will go taller for the fact that I want to make it all the same size. So yeah, I had some trouble with that. Like I waste about 3 days on that. I need to amend all the sizing later on. So yeah, and then this is the assembly of it. And then this is the portion where we are trying to hang it. And this is how it looks like. And then I think I have the experimental, yeah, because, you know, I just need to hang it. So I took like my clothing racks and then tried to hang it to see the works on it. Yeah. And I would like to share another one, which is the video of this wallflower, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, that will be cool.
Okay, so hold on. let me just stop sharing this one, and then okay, so this is kind of the outcome. I found out about this after I made this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this 8 module. So it actually can be compressed on y-axis, x-axis, and also y, x, and z axis actually. So I'll show you. So this is like, you can compress it sideways and this way, and also from the top. So it's just like the deployability of the material, actually you can create it such a way of that. Yeah. Yeah, it's something like that. So it can actually become a blind screen, like a screen that you can like actually compress and then open it up. So I think this is the possibility of model making actually. So yeah, yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, really great. I think still waiting for the questions from the floor.
I think they're being quiet lah. Okay. All right, I'm sure. I mean, I think the students, I think, should be inspired lah. Somebody post. All right,
yeah.
Let's check it.
Stephanie. Okay, I think yeah. Ma, you want to read?
It's okay.
Okay, so the question was, when you create your models, do you plan out the whole thing and then make your concept models, or do your plan as you make them?
Hold on, let me just
digest the question.
let me just understand it. Yeah. You plan out the whole thing, or then make your okay. I think first you have to plan first. I mean, you need to have basic idea how it's going to look like, because it's coming from your narrative, and also you need to plan from your narrative to your model. So from there, you kind of play along and plan, and sometimes you will find something unexpected from your model as well, and you can include it in. But I think the core plan, you have to have it. Yeah, kind of you need to have basic planning as well lah. But and then afterwards, through experimentation, we'll find new discoveries, and then I think when it comes to that, you will decide along the way. So yeah,
yes, I think
that answers Stephanie's question.
You can reply me if I'm not answering your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. All right. Okay. Any more questions from the floor before we end this session?
We only have 1 hour with Esha, so better you guys ask now.
I think we still have like 10 minutes more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Okay, Esha. Okay,
Yes.
we here, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I think your sharing is actually very interesting, because in a way, I would say that it can relate to a lot to the students, because in a way, like what we did, first thing we asked them to do research. Okay.
Yes.
Secondly, definitely we ask them to think and to experiments. Okay, but many times, yeah, what the students did, okay, their research and their experiment, or their consult, it come out of a sudden, it doesn't link.
I
okay
see. I see.
So hopefully this round you're sharing which I think the process is actually very clear, your thinking process. So hopefully our students can get the inspiration.
Yes.
Okay. And hopefully I like what you said, the experimental model.
Yes.
So hope they can do more model. Yeah. And really record or document whatever they did.
Yes.
I think your process is actually, honestly, is actually very clear, and it let us understand, okay, from the research, okay, how your mind think, okay, how you execute, towards the final. I will say that hope that the students will understand lah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for example, I think the experimental models, for example, I
Yes.
mean, we were students that time.
Yes.
There will always confusion, but I
Yes.
think that's your communication tool
Correct.
between the students and also the lecturers. Because when we document it, when you go to your lecturers, and then your lecturers will see, oh, actually you can do this even more better. Like there's a guidance from us, because that's how it works between the students and also the lecturers.
Yes.
And my lecturers has been helpful in that, and I bet that your lecturers here would too. So it's just like you create and you talk to them. If you there's like missing link, it's usually because you don't talk to them. So yeah, I mean,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
I also, yes, I think the in the each of the image that you put in, the process that you put in with the footnote, I think that is actually very good as well.
yeah,
It can communicate clearly
and
the message. Yes.
because what I learned before is like when you didn't put the footnote, it just lost in translation.
Yes.
I mean, you're doing good work sometimes, but then people wouldn't understand what's your intention with this model.
Yes.
So it just is, I think it's really helpful for students to really, talk to the lecturers as well. But you have to do the model first lah. Like,
yes.
yeah.
They have to
The
do
show
the
work
model first.
first.
Yes.
Yes.
And don't feel pressured. Don't feel pressured. You just like plan your time. You plan what can you capable of doing within certain amount of time that was given, and then you just experiment in it and talk to the lecturers. Lecturers wouldn't marah one. It's just like, the more you produce, the more that you can communicate with them, and then the much more clearer direction that you can go actually.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's my mistake when I was in degree. It's just like I don't really create much, so there's not much to talk about. When you create much, actually there's much more helpful for you to work on.
Yes, thank you very much.
No worries.
Yes.
Very useful tips. Thank you, Esha.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much, okay, everyone, for attending this session. Okay, I hope, okay, that this valuable knowledge, okay, is spread through and applied, okay, to your outcome in the coming future. Thank you so much, Esha, for your time. Thank you, Hui Hui and
Yes,
Hafiz,
thanks.
for co-host with me today. Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.